Hello everyone, this is Alima Khanumeli. We are in conversation with Mr. Shah Peerally from Shah Peerally Law Group, a law group that focuses on immigration law and helping the immigrants in the society. Today we were going to be talking about different kinds of visas and services that this law firm offers the immigrants. Welcome, Shah. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.
Thank you very much, Alima.
Well, your firm has been doing a lot of U visas, I hear. Now, can you explain to the viewers exactly what a U visa is all about?
Well, the U visa, Alima, was initiated in the year 2000. It is a visa designed to help people who are victims of criminal activity and who help the law enforcement in prosecuting those cases to get a visa to stay in the United States. It's a non-immigrant visa, however, it will lead to a green card after 4 years.
Well, that's good to know. Now, is there like a quota also applied for the U visa?
Yes, indeed. They allow 10,000 of them a year. However, if you apply for it, even the quota is passed, they will still bring you to the next quota. That means it carries forward, and during the meantime, you are able to get your work authorization if the U visa is approved.
Well, that's really great, Shah, to know that even though you're past the quota for that 1 year, it actually moves forward. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would be under the impression that once the quota is done, the quota is done.
Yes, that's one great thing with the U visa. It carries forward. Although they will put you on the next quota, you'll have to wait a little bit longer, but they will still process the case for you.
That's good. Now, what exactly are the benefits of a U visa?
Well, the benefits are great, Alima. For one, you will be able to work and live in the United States, and then after 4 years, you will be able to apply for a green card. The other benefits, which is very interesting about the U visa, if you are under 16, you might be able to petition for your family, including your parents and your siblings.
Well, that's really great to know that you can actually sponsor your family. So it doesn't matter if it's dad, parents, brothers, siblings, so anyone can get sponsored is what you're saying.
Yes, it is limited, of course, to parents, siblings, brothers and sisters, depending on your age. But this is one of the advantages of the U visa. It will allow you to file a petition sometimes simultaneously for the family.
Well, that's great. You can work under a U visa and you can actually sponsor your family to come into the U.S. under the U visa. I mean, what can go wrong with that, right?
Well, nothing can go wrong if you are eligible for the U visa. The question is that, will you be eligible for it?
Right. So, which brings me to my next question. It's like, what are the qualifications of, applying for a U visa?
Well, this is an interesting part, Alima. The U visa allows people who are victims of certain crimes, and the crimes are defined actually in the statute, and it allows something which is more interesting also. Even if you're out of status inside the United States, and you're, for example, in domestic violence cases, where back in the days you could only get VAWA, and VAWA applies only to if your spouse is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. The U visa does away with that, and it allows you, if you are a victim of a domestic violence, to apply for a visa to this statute and allow you ultimately to get a green card. And the U visa has been a blessing for many, many people who are victims of crimes. For example, some people who are battered, aggravated felony, it doesn't have to be your spouse, you might still be eligible for U visa. And now also victims of rape. And now with expansion of the rape statute, basically under the Obama new administrative order, it will allow more possibilities of the U visa. So it is something that people should consider. Of course, it has to be a genuine situation, but the U visa is a blessing for many, many people who could never, well, of course they have been victims, and those victims should be given a chance in the United States.
I heard you mention VAWA. Now, what is the difference between U visa and VAWA?
Well, there's a big difference between U visa and the VAWA petitions. But let me just tell you the one similarity. One similarity is basically people who are victims of domestic violence can benefit from both of them depending on their situation. However, the difference, the U visa allows you to to be able to get a green card, a work permit, even if you are victims of certain other crimes. And the crimes doesn't have to be domestic violence crimes. It can be rape by a stranger, it can be murder, and there's a long list that they have listed. And of course there is also a way to kind of do analogies of those crimes. This is where we match them, because certain crimes are not listed. You can still basically, based on the statute, benefit from the U visa. Now talking about the VAWA is very, very interesting, as you know. VAWA allows a U.S. citizen spouse, a person who's married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder to get a green card in the United States. The elements of VAWA are totally different. For one of the main requirements of VAWA, you have to have a valid marriage. And again, I want to put a little parenthesis here, because many people believe that they don't know if they have a valid marriage or not. For example, people get married just religiously and they never registered the marriage, and they believe that this marriage is not valid. In California, there are some provisions where you can register those marriages. I repeat that. So don't think just because you have a religious marriage, it's not a valid marriage, you cannot benefit from VAWA. The second thing you need for VAWA, you have to be a victim of an abuse. And abuse can take different forms, as you know. Abuse can be physical, which is obvious because you have usually a police report, but abuse can also be mental, which is something that we are getting really, really frequently. And abuse can also be sexual. People don't know that, and again, the definition of rape will be very, very important in this. A spouse can be raped. People don't realize that, and now they have extended it even for men. So this is the interesting part. And the third element, of course, you have to have good moral character. That means you should not have any problems with the police. Mm-hmm. You have an exception to this situation, which is if the crime or the situation happened while you were defending yourself during a domestic violence argument. For example, one spouse hitting you and you hit back, this cannot be used to go against the third element of VAWA to prove that you are a person of bad moral character. So there's always an exception, and there's always ways that we can deal with that third element. Most of the time, the biggest element that we need for the VAWA cases is the first and second one, which is a bona fide marriage, a valid marriage, and abuses. So we usually meet those requirements. And the third one is, we don't usually meet those requirements. The third one is the one that most people meet most of the time.
Now, your firm has also been dealing with spousal abuse related to men. I've read a couple of cases where where your firm has been successful in getting them legal status in the U.S. Can you care to expand as to how that is working in your law firm?
This is very interesting, Alima, because we have noted that out of 10 cases, 4 are abuses against men. Mm-hmm. Many people get a little bit they're uncomfortable in the fact that a man can be abused, but they do. We have won several cases, and I'll say in the maybe 50 cases around, where men were abused. The difference between the abuse of a woman and a man lies in most women that we get cases are abused physically. When it comes to men, it's more a mental abuse. It's things like, for example, mistreating them, calling them names, kicking them out of the house, basically insulting them in front of the people. All kind of things can be considered as an abuse. And before, many men were basically not coming forward to tell us about this, but then when you start questioning them, you realize that they've been abused. And if we see an abuse cases and we are able to obtain a green card for them through a VAWA petition, which we have done. One good example we have done a few months ago, we just won the case after almost 4 years of fighting, is a gentleman who was abused by his spouse. The spouse was on drugs, basically was trying to take away the children and not giving him a chance even to see his children and things like that. And all those are considered as abuse. Insults, basically, it can go, anything can happen, and if it is not, whatever can be an abuse for a woman can also be an abuse for a man. But for men, there are specific issues that we see. Most of them are abuses based on mental abuses.
Or has it been very hard to prove versus men getting abused and women getting abused? I mean, did you have to work extra hard to prove that this person as a male is really abused? Because you've said that it's more a mental and a verbal abuse related to men. So, and I'm sure it's very hard to prove. So how has that been successful in your law firm?
Well, Alima, the truth is that it's hard on both sides, because proving abuses, unless there are clear-cut police report that shows there was domestic violence, immigration has taken the position that abuses can be proven by other means. We have done so many of those cases. I've been doing VAWA since I can remember, probably since I became a lawyer. My first case was a VAWA case. One of the things I always encourage my clients to do is to seek counseling. And this is where a clinical psychologist becomes very important, or a therapist, because a therapist will analyze the situation and ultimately give us a conclusion that this person has been abused. But this is only one factor. You cannot just count on this. It's more experience that speaks, because we look at cases on an individual level. It's not like we boiler template them. While you are questioning the clients, we are able to find things that the clients themselves don't know about. And it has been not harder. I cannot say it's harder for us to prove, because they have been very fair to us. Immigration has been very fair. As long as we can prove the elements of VAWA, so far, luckily, we have been able to win all our cases. So the truth is, it's a matter of basically preparing the case right and digging for information. Many people don't even know they're abused until you basically tell them they're abused. They just know that it's not been working well in their marriage, but they don't realize that all the elements that they are showing at this point amounts to abuses. For example, we had a case where someone was from Africa, and every time there was a fight, the spouse will say, "You come from a jungle because you come from Africa." So those kind of things hurt him a lot. He took it because he was thinking it's an insult, but then she will make the same joke in public, in front of all the friends. "Oh, I took him from a jungle." So those were enough to show an abuse. Another case we had where we couldn't have any testimony from anybody to give abuse. But guess what? Facebook did it. We got all the information of Facebook, where she wrote all kind of stuff. She was cheating on him openly, and that was it.
Well, thanks to Facebook, I guess. It's helping your law firm.
Well, this is the thing. People don't realize that minor things things that we think are minor are not minor for society. So that's why an experienced attorney makes a big difference in those cases. We know how to basically get the information and how to use it. And that's basically the magic of working on those cases.
Now with the new law passed against the statute of rape, I mean, where it's saying even men can be raped, I mean, 2 cents on it. How does it affect your law firm and your cases on this?
Well, the great thing is that there are many states that have passed laws already on this, but then it was not codified under the federal law. Now, basically, hopefully with this new order from the Obama administration, there will be more leeway for more cases to be reported. And that will be to the advantage of the people of the U visa. For example, rape is one category that can be used to get a U visa. And if, for example, a man couldn't be raped according to the way the law was crafted before. And the law, for example, one part of the law says you couldn't, you had to resist your rapist, and now they got away with that. So this will help people for the U visa, and not only men, other people also.
That's great. Shah, thank you so much for giving this insight into U visa and VAWA. Thank you for joining in. Folks, if you need more information, please call the number on the screen for Shah Peerally Law Group.